I'm Jessica, this is Maureen, and this is Angela, and today we are going to be speaking about accent addition. So today's learning objectives are that students will increase their knowledge of what accented speech is and why individuals may seek accent addition therapy. Students are going to increase their knowledge of the challenges facing SLPs in the delivery of treatment of accent addition in the absence of evidence-based practice. And students will increase their knowledge regarding using instrumentation, specifically Waveserver, in treating accent addition clients. So meet our client. Her name is Lucy Liu. She is a 23-year-old aspiring actress whose first language is Mandarin Chinese and learned English at the age of 17. She is being seen at the Mercy College Speech and Hearing Center for accent addition therapy. So what is an accent? Well, according to ASHA, an accent is the unique way that speech is pronounced by a group of people speaking the same language. It's really important to remember that it is not a speech and language disorder, and it's generally grouped in two ways, regional and foreign. So an example of regional would be someone from Texas is going to speak totally different than someone from New York, and a foreign would be someone who grew up speaking English is going to speak differently from someone who grew up speaking Spanish and then learned English later in life. So when learning a second language, a speaker needs to modify both acoustic and articulation distinctions, including intonation, stress, rhythm, grammar, and additional phonemes. So how do accents affect communication? Well, we have the conversational partner raise the speaker, and the conversational partner may not always understand the speaker who has the accent. And for diminished social interaction, the speaker may seclude themselves from social situations because they often feel like they're misunderstood. And then there's always frustration and a fear by the speaker that their conversational partner is only focusing on their accent. So how do negative effects of an accent? Why would you want to change them? Education, job performance and advancement, your daily activities of living, and your self-esteem levels. And can I change my accent? Yes, you can, with a certified SLP and the use of accent addition therapy. So who is eligible for accent addition therapy? Non-native English speakers, individuals looking to eliminate any regional accents, actors, and professionals such as medical professionals or business professionals.
Okay, so what will a listener notice? So they'll notice energy, form and frequency, fundamental frequency, and prosody. And prosody plays a critical role in language comprehension and listener perception. So the following are phonological variations between Mandarin and English. So the following 15 phonemes in English are not found in Mandarin. You've got the b, the g, the d, and so on. These contribute to a great deal of difficulties for Chinese learners. The English sh, ch, and zh are similar to the Mandarin sounds sh, 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 ch, and sh. However, the Mandarin sh, ch, and sh are palato-alveolar retroflex, meaning the tip of the tongue is curled back against the palate when articulating these sounds, and all are voiceless. Absence of length contrast. So the length of contrast between long and short vowels in English does not exist in Mandarin, like ship and sheep, and full and fool. Therefore, Chinese learners are not naturally aware of the duration difference of the vowels in English and may not even produce or perceive those differences. For example, the short to the long vowel in sit or in please sit in this seat. Front nasal n exists in both English and Mandarin, but many Mandarin speakers cannot distinguish n from l when they speak Mandarin, especially speakers from southern China. This unclear distinction between n and l can also be found when they speak English. For example, I'm sorry I don't know becomes I don't know. Il also exists in both English and Mandarin, but the position of il in English and Mandarin are quite different. In Mandarin, il can only appear at the initial position, while in English it can be in the initial, middle, or final final position of the syllable. Apart from the conflation within an ul, when il is at the initial position, il also causes much trouble for Mandarin speakers when it is at final position of the syllable or in final cluster, final consonant cluster. For example, il vocalization, the realization of il as vowels such as u or a when it is preceded by a back vowel. For example, fool becomes fu. Deletion of final il, fool becomes fu, and deletion of il in final consonant cluster. For example, when world becomes word. Many Mandarin speakers transfer this habit to their pronunciation of English, so they tend to either drop the final consonant or add an extra vowel at the end of the word. As a result, the omission of final consonants and insertion of final vowels in English can cause some misunderstandings. For example, the deletion of the final consonant will lead to help becomes help, tool becomes to, and dog becomes dog.
Okay, so the role of the SLP in accent addition therapy is a clinical evaluation to assess the errors that are being made, speech samples to assess the errors being made in connected speech. Goals should be created that will improve their pronunciation and recognition skills, and therapy. The SLP should educate their clients about the nature of the disorder and of the disorder. They should educate the clients about their accent and the potential interference that it has with communication. SLP should also be very sensitive to their needs, and the client must be motivated, so it's a very important factor to consider, and of course the client's attitudes and emotions. First, it is important to make sure that it's not a disorder, that they are just difficult to understand based on their accent. And the goal of accent management may be functional improvement in communication effectiveness rather than just the accent alone. So, our lesson plan for Lucy Liu, excuse me. We created long-term goals and short-term goals. First long-term objective is to add an accent through auditory training, intonation, and repetition, and to improve pronunciation and recognition skills. So first procedure that we can use would be through minimal pairs with Lucy Liu. What we would do is have two different minimal pairs, both differing in final consonants, especially with the voicing and devoiced. So one will be voiceless, one will be voiced, because that is common among Mandarin speakers, and Lucy Liu has a problem with the final consonant through voicing and deletion. So we could have the cards on the table in therapy, and then first I would say the word and cover my face with this little screener. And so I would say the word, and she would have to point to the picture of the word that I'm saying. This is an example of auditory discrimination, so that first we're making sure that she can hear the error. She could hear the difference between a voiced and voiceless consonant. Then we would switch, and I would give her the screen, and she would say the word, and then I would point to the production that I heard. So this would be a way for us to give feedback on whether she is voicing or not voicing her final consonants. Another way we can use instrumentation is through Wavesurfer. With Wavesurfer, we can use the pitch contour, spectrogram, and waveform. And two examples we did was with final consonant devoicing. We can look for, we did dog and doc. So with dog, we can look for the little voice bar at the end. It's a little darker, it's very hard to see. And then doc, you could tell that there's nothing there. So we could also see that this one is a lot longer than for doc. And another example that we did through Wavesurfer was final consonant deletion of tool and to. And with these, you can see tool, of course, is longer, and to is shorter. Oh, and also just forgot to go back one with dog and duck. It's also longer, even though they are saying the final consonant, the vowel's always elongated before the voiced consonant, so that's why it's so much longer than the other one. And that's about it. Any questions? A lot of accents to that.